Hello and welcome to Maths Moments Monday. Maths Moments Monday is bite-sized Maths PD by teachers and for teachers. Every week we get a new teacher to come in and show us something amazing. Now, this week it is episode 5 and we are joined by the incredible Christy Bridge. Now, Christy Bridge is going to show us something that we don't do enough of in the secondary school, which is hands-on activities. This is a great one for solving multi-step equations. Take it away, Christy.
When I'm introducing solving equations to middle school students, we obviously start by talking about balancing and scales, and most of them can get one-step equations pretty easily from there. It's not too big a jump to a two-step equation, but as soon as I start talking about equations with multiple steps, I often lose my students because they get confused about what step to do first. And so when I'm introducing solving multi-step equations, we play pass the parcel. Because when we think about pass the parcel, we're thinking about unwrapping from the outside to get into the center. And that's what we're doing with an equation like this. We're starting with operations that are furthest away from the variable, working our way closer and closer to figure out what x is. So when I play pass the parcel, I start by giving them a parcel with the equation on the front. And we start by making some guesses or some hypotheses around what would be the best first operation to take. Now, by this point, I've already introduced the idea that we can check our equation solving by substitution. So it's a good point to remind them if they say, maybe we should start by getting rid of the 2. Well, let's actually try that process. Have a go working it out on paper and see if it actually works when we substitute that answer back in. And it doesn't. So we get back to pass the parcel. Pass the parcel, most students look at this equation and say, I think I'm going to need to get rid of that +1 first. And so that's what we do. We start by unwrapping the parcel, and inside, as well as the parcel, there are 2 bits of paper. One with the words, subtract 1 from both sides, because that's what we're doing. And one with what the equation will look like once we've done that. And I think both these steps are important for students to know what they're doing and also reminding them of the notation, what it should actually look like when they've done that. And I'll have a volunteer come and stick them on the board. And so then we get back to the parcel, unwrap the next layer. And obviously we know that we need to multiply both sides by 3. But for some students, it's not obvious. So having the layers and the steps helps them see how we're working from the outside in, which is why we're playing pass the parcel. Putting the equations on the board like this helps re-emphasize the importance of proper setting out and notation. If you want, you could also include the therefore symbol, but I haven't always introduced that with middle school students yet, so it depends when you do that in the process. Students keep unwrapping the parcel. We see the next step. We add 5 to both sides, and we'll be left with 2x plus 14. Usually by this point, I'll get students to go back to the start of the equation and re-emphasize the steps again. So they can see that we are working from the thing that is furthest away from x. The 1, then the timesing by 3, then adding 5. They're seeing that we're getting closer and closer to what x is. Finally, we divide both sides by 2. And students will often go, this is the end point, we've got the answer, and they'll expect that this is the middle of the parcel, but it's not. Because again, I want my students to be able to substitute that number back in to check. So the last layer of the parcel is where we substitute that number back in and check that it actually gets us to 4, because we always check by substitution. And of course, because it's past the parcel, there's always a prize in the middle. And so to make this really memorable for my students, I usually put some lollipops or something in, because then we can do some more practice problems like this while eating some lollies, and that's always fun. I think that having something hands-on that we're actually doing, it always makes maths more memorable. But because we are unwrapping, we are getting from the outside unwrapping it inwards. Students still tell me 2 or 3 years later that that's still how they remember when they think about solving equations. They remember we're unwrapping a parcel. Having the information on the board reminds us that we're not just randomly throwing layers off, that whatever we do to one side, we do to the other, and that's why I think having the steps helps as well. So I hope you enjoy playing Pass the Parcel with your students.